listen, never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Getting on baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
There's no human being on the planet, the entire globe, all of the WBC countries that I'd rather have on more than Shawn Spradling right now. He's pointing. He's pointing to it still makes me laugh. So you have the backdrop. Your backdrop is taking a step up. I will say this.
Yeah, I think last time we talked, Rob, it was a blank wall behind me. It looked like I was being.
It looked like you honestly were in a dormitory. It was like, but it's okay. It's all right. You have a map of the earth behind you. You have a World Baseball Classic pennant. Type of pennant when I had it when I was 8 years old. And are those war stick bats or what
they are? Yeah, got a couple war stick bats up here.
War stick bats. So shout out to War Stick, your employer. So excellent backdrop. And I think there's a lot to build. What is that another little globe there? What is that?
Yeah, I got a globe from a mission trip I went to in Haiti when I was in high school. So that's pretty cool. I'll do one other piece of show and tell. So
yeah.
But I have so I have these two things that I need to find a way to bring it closer to the backdrop so you can see them. One of them is the last pitch.
Oh, that's a great card. It's a Topps card. To paint the picture of it, it's behind home plate of the last pitch, Ohtani to Trout. What a great card that is.
I don't buy a ton of cards anymore. I used to collect like crazy, but this is one I had to buy. That moment is solidified in baseball history.
Can I, not to be uncouth, but how much did that cost?
Oh, honestly, that one was maybe $60.
Okay, because I've got a feeling, and the reason I asked is I feel like that is something that you're gonna be a millionaire off of, like in a few years.
I'm biased because I own one, but I fully believe that like WBC cards are going to explode eventually. The same way that they did in soccer. Like soccer cards, World Cup cards got like exploded over COVID. Like they were never really a thing. World Cup like stickers and cards in soccer. So I think that like as the WBC continues to grow and it becomes more of a mainstay in baseball, it's the premier international tournament. Like you're going to want those kind of cards just like you do for all your rookie cards for baseball, you know?
I would like to do. I'm looking at that card and I'm just remembering that pitch and I remember that moment. And I said at the time, it was in baseball history. It was one of the most iconic moments, I think, in baseball history. And we've talked about this a bunch of times, but people say, well, how could that be? It's an exhibition game. It didn't mean anything. You had two of the best players of all time facing each other with this tournament on the line. All of this,
they were teammates. They were teammates at the time.
They were teammates. That's another thing. It's crazy. So I would love to do, and I'm going to try to do it, like just a podcast on that, like that one at bat. Like I feel like you could talk to so many people about who were there. Anyway, it's just,
you could do a full podcast to where every pitch you're like interviewing a different person.
Exactly.
Like analyzing the why, the how, the history behind that at bat. Like you could have a 2-hour long podcast on just that at bat.
Yeah. And I would like to start with Mike Trout to talk about it. And I know it's painful for him, but still I haven't talked to him about it, certainly. I don't know how many people have in retrospect of like, okay, how nervous were you compared to, was that the most nervous that you have ever been? Which is a fair question because the guy hasn't played in a lot of big games.
Yeah. I mean, even being his teammate, I remember him talking about this on Mookie's podcast after the tournament. He said he had never faced Shohei in any setting when Shohei was on the mound, not on the backfields, not in any sort of practices. So because of that, he stepped up to the plate and it was the first time he'd ever faced Shohei.
That's crazy. That's awesome. So that's sort of a good springboard into what we're talking about because obviously when that happened, everyone had fully bought into the WBC. It was everything that they had hoped it would be, and almost immediately people were turning to 2026 and say, okay, what's 2026 going to be? Now it's going to be as good as this was. Now you're going to get more players to play in. Everyone understands. The guys who didn't play in it, they have FOMO. They have all of it. It almost turned the page immediately. And that's where we started to see guys say, yeah, I'm playing.
Yeah.
So with that said, this is sort of the exercise I want to start with, Shawn, is when at that moment when you're like, okay, this is the amount of commitments you're going to get by the time we get to November 2025. Is it what you thought it would be like now? Like, is it, I mean, there's a lot of announcements to go, but as we sit here, how many months out are we? 4 months out or whatever it is it what you thought it would be after the excitement of that?
Man, that's a really good question. Because I think that looking forward to 2026, back in 2023, after the tournament, everyone was just riding a high of that tournament, of that at bat, even at the end, of Japan winning. Japanese baseball has, I feel like, exploded in popularity over in the States. Like, everyone's waiting for the newest Japanese player to move to MLB every single offseason. So those kind of developments aren't surprising at all to me. I think from a fan perspective, I think that it's been pretty much what I expected, in the sense that fans are ready for the tournament. And we're 4 months out, but even earlier this year, when we had qualifiers in the spring, fans were locked into the qualifiers. In 2022, there really weren't many people watching WBC qualifiers.
Yeah.
This year, there were. There were, I mean, you saw conversation being had about the Brazilian team, about Taiwan hosting in the Taipei Dome for the first time. All of this buzz that was happening in the spring this year, you had like viewership ratings and numbers were shattered compared to the last qualifiers. So that tells me that fans were ready, they were excited, and were anticipating the tournament coming forward. It wasn't just like this. I felt like in 2023, it was almost like a surprise to people, like, oh man, this is happening again. This time people are actually prepared and ready for it. So that's on the fan side. I think when it comes to differences in what I expected from the league and from maybe the media, I think I expected MLB to do a little bit more hype and marketing earlier. Because if you look at like the WBC social media channel, they really don't post anything still. That won't really happen until January or February. MLB, like, they really still only post about the commitments for Team USA. I think a lot of fans would love for them to start posting commitments from other teams, the other 19 teams, which is, I think, why like my content popped off last WBC, because I was sharing content for all 20 national teams. So I think there's still a lot of growth to be had, and more transparency into the process, because it's still kind of murky on how the commitments work and how the rosters are held privately. But I think it's definitely improving. It's a slow progression.
One of the things you said, I just thought of this. I was over at the GM meetings, and obviously they had the MLB awards, and part of that was they were sort of like, look at us, we're announcing these guys being on Team USA. Pete Crow Armstrong, who else was it? It was Bobby
Carroll.
Witt. What?
Corbin Carroll.
Corbin Carroll, that's right.
Yeah.
But you're right. Well, I mean, why just Team USA? Like, what? That's bizarre. I mean, it's a great point by you. Like, why just that? Like, it seemed, the more I think about it, it is bizarre that they just did Team USA. There's other guys there,
Yeah.
So,
and it's like MLB will have, and I love that they do this. Like, they have a full-on graphic that's edited. They have a whole presentation at the MLB Awards for when Corbin Carroll and PCA and all these guys commit for Team USA. But then the other 19 national teams, there's not really any announcements. There's no dialogue being had in English. Like the Japanese reporters will cover the Japanese team, the Dominican reporters will cover the Dominican roster. But MLB is made up of all of these different nations and territories and players from all around the world. So I think maybe a missed opportunity, or at least an opportunity to grow, would be actually them announcing roster news for all 20 countries. Like people want to know that Bo Bichette has committed to play for Brazil,
right?
Or like Jack Haglab. I mean, we'll talk about more names in a bit, but like those kind of guys that like you wouldn't expect or you wouldn't know, or like Team Taiwan, I'm sure already has like most of their guys that they know are going to play. It's an honor for those countries, like those players from those countries, to represent their national team. So frankly, it's a little less of a commitment and it's more everyone is committed. And now it just depends on who those like managers are going to choose. So I don't know. I think it's an opportunity that MLB could grow on that front.
So along those lines, let me ask you, players who are playing for countries that you might not expect.
Yeah.
Right? You mentioned Bo Bichette, right? That was one. Brazil. Yeah. And congratulations to Brazil and Bo Bichette. But there's other guys, and it's great when they sort of pop up out of nowhere. And I love during the season, like I'll text you, say, hey, this guy, he'll say, hey, well, he's actually eligible for whatever. Like Brendan Donovan, I remember, was Germany, right? It's like, and there's these guys and they pop up and a lot of them play. They know they aren't going to go. They aren't going to go to the finals, but it's almost like, oh, this is going to be a cool experience. And maybe in the back of their mind, like, I'm not going to have to be far long away from my team that long either, but it'll be a cool experience for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Who are some of the guys that jump out to you?
Oh, like the surprises that you
expect? Just like oh man, I didn't know that he was going to be playing for this team. Yeah.
So I'll give you two names that come to mind immediately that have just been on the top of my mind lately. And it's interesting because they're both eligible for similar teams. One that's committed and one that hasn't. So Jack Caglione said that he is going to be playing for Team Italy. I mean, that makes sense with his last name. I don't think it's a surprise to anybody. But when asked about why he chose to play for Italy, he said like he had considered and been reached out to by Puerto Rico because his mom's from Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
It's just they reached out a little bit later than Italy did. Italy's been talking to him for a couple of years about playing. And so he's eligible and he's said he's playing for Italy. Another player, though, that has not committed, that I think a lot of people are very interested to see what he's going to do, especially after the World Series, is Springer's eligible for 3 different countries. Obviously the US, because he's born here.
Right.
But his mom is from Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And his grandfather on his dad's side is from Panama. So because of that, he's half Panamanian, half Puerto Rican, full American. He could play for any of the countries he wanted, any of those 3. But I mean, we'll see if he were to join. I mean, honestly, I don't think that he's going to join Team USA because there's just so many outfielder options that I don't think that that's their top priority. But for Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico would fall in love with him if he was in the center of that lineup, especially without Kike being able to play with an injury. But then talk about like being a star in a lineup. If he wants to play for Panama, like he would stand out as one of the like premier athletes playing in Panama.
It's like Bichette, Brazil. I mean, it's the same sort of thing. Did I see Jazz Chisholm's playing for Great Britain? Is that right? Yeah, uh-huh. He is. Okay.
Well, so he said he wants to play. It just depends on if frankly, if the Yankees are cool with him playing and if injuries, everything, like as long as he's healthy going into the next season, because he committed to play for Great Britain last WBC, but had his injury during the season, so he wasn't able to play. But since he's Bahamian and the Bahamas are a former British colony, he's eligible to play for Great Britain. And a lot of Bahamians play for the British team.
Man, this is the 6 degrees of your country in the WBC. It's crazy. But so is there a player that you were surprised it hasn't committed yet? You know, one of the things that you talk about Team USA and the other countries is that it almost feels, and I know this isn't across the board, but it almost feels like if you're from that country, if you're from the Dominican, Puerto Rico, Japan, whatever it is, that it's just assumed that you're going to play. It almost feels that way.
Yeah.
Right. With USA, you have to do a huge presentation of like, oh my goodness, he's playing.
Yeah.
You know, so is there anyone who hasn't signed up yet or hasn't or you're kind of surprised that he hasn't? I'm not just talking, maybe Team USA, maybe not, another country.
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. I think it's hard because you're right. Like it's kind of what we talked about. If a lot of these other countries, it's just expected that they all want to play. All of the top Dominican players are committed at this point. Like all of them. It just depends on they're going to choose. If they're going to be healthy, insurance issues, things like that. Maybe free agency with the pitching side. When it comes to like someone that's maybe a surprise that they haven't committed, I think that you can still go to a Team USA and like, honestly, like he talked so fondly about the tournament last time, but hasn't come out and said he's playing this time. And maybe it's because of also his injuries, but Mike Trout was like adamant that he was going to be playing this tournament. He was like, I will be there next time. We're going to be recruiting. We're going to be there. And maybe it's because we just have so many outfielders that DeRosa wants to take. I don't know, but maybe that's been a little bit of a surprise that one hasn't come out yet. He was our captain in 2023.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. And, you know, again, it's almost an unfair question because there's injuries, there's free agency. There's also sometimes guys have to make teams. You know, this is another thing. Like we want to say, well, you want all the good top prospects. Well, the fact is that, you know, it's one of these things where if a guy's going to make a team, and some guys choose to go to the WBC, they say, hey, listen, I don't care. Like, I'll figure it out later. One guy that jumps to mind in that respect was Jaron Duran. Jaron Duran went to play for Team Mexico, and he like was a pinch runner, got like 5 at-bats, but had a great experience there. Ramiel Tapia makes the team over him because he's not in camp. So I don't know.
Well, and I mean, there's a bunch of different reasons why we may not have heard from players as to why they're committed or not. If I'm being totally honest, I'd say there's probably most of the players I can think of that aren't committed yet. I bet if we asked them, they would tell us if they're committed or not. Right. It's just a lot of time media doesn't ask that question.
It's fair.
So, I mean, we had a conversation about that earlier this year, and you were like, I'm going to be talking to. I talked to Bo Bichette last week. I should have asked him about Team Brazil.
I think honestly, the day that I was going to ask, I would say, I'll get to it tomorrow or whatever, and then like that day, bizarrely, it comes out. Oh, by the way, he's committed to Brazil.
Yeah, it just like so happened that someone.
It's so. By the way, here's the thing, Shawn. It's such low hanging fruit for reporters.
Yeah,
it's so easy. And I know that, you know, I've talked to like Garrett Crochet about it. And that's another thing is that, you know, when we talk about, okay, how did the last WBC impact the commitment to this WBC? It has to start with pitching because this is the hardest thing, not necessarily for Japan. Japan just, you know, they're going to pitch. They're going to play. They're going to pitch, 100%. Right? I mean, Amai's a free agent, right? He's going to pitch.
Yeah,
that's how it is.
I mean, their rotation could be 8 deep with like all stars.
Yeah, and there's no hesitation. It's too bad MLB. We're gonna pitch, but there is that. I know at least for USA, there is that. There was always like that's the piece of the puzzle which we're kind of missing because these guys aren't committing. Mm-hmm. What do you feel like that stands heading into this one,
dude? We have one pitcher for Team USA committed. And he just so happens to be the NL Cy Young winner in Paul Skeens.
Yeah.
Like I think that we're already taking a huge step forward from any previous WBC with him starting so earlier this year, saying, I'm playing for Team USA, like no matter what, like I want to play for my country. I mean, it couldn't get better than that. Like he's at the beginning of his career already winning Cy Youngs and Rookie of the Years. So I think that setting that tone could help the mentality behind pitchers for Team USA in the WBC, because we haven't really had an issue with many pitchers missing out on the WBC from most other countries. It's really still just the Team USA that's hesitant. And I thought we were going to have the turnout last WBC because like Logan Webb committed, Clayton Kershaw committed, which those two back in 2023, that was a pretty elite top of the rotation. But insurance issues for Kershaw and then Webb with his free agency, they both had to drop out. So I think starting with Skeens this year, that could change the narrative to where like it's no longer most of the players play, but the top American pitchers don't. I think he's shifting that narrative.
Where are we at with Skubal? Do we know?
I haven't heard anything from Skubal
See,
yet.
that's again a miss on my part. Literally, we just interviewed him a couple of days ago.
No way.
Yeah, he was the red carpet at the MLB Awards, and it would have been so easy.
Oh,
yeah.
You got to ask those questions.
I know.
Take the low-hanging fruit.
But that's the point, Shawn, is that it's like this has to be top of mind. I think it comes back to what you're talking about. They had a nice little segment in the MLB Awards for those guys announcing they're going to play, but okay, it's not top of mind for people. Yeah. It's not, and it should be. It should be for a lot of reasons. It should be because it's gonna basically the exciting baseball season. As much as I like spring training, the exciting baseball season is now this year going to start a lot earlier.
Yep.
You have to plan for which players aren't going to be around your spring training. You have to start talking to you about, okay, which team is going to be, at some point we'll do power rankings, which is one of my favorite things to do. Like all of this, it's like, it's much better to talk about than a lot of stuff that we're talking about now, guessing who's going to sign in free agency.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And I mean, I know I'm an outlier because I'm a WBC sicko and it's always top of mind for me, but my goal is to help it be top of mind and to be a consistent conversation, like a drumbeat throughout the MLB season and the CPBL season, the NPB season, the KBO season, so that it's just like a common narrative. And I take a lot of inspiration, honestly, from soccer, like world soccer. The World Cup is always a talking point. There are always media outlets talking about like, like maybe we're 2 years before, but if we were to have the WBC now or the World Cup now, this is what the team Netherlands would look like in the World Cup. Or they have World Cup qualifiers years before. They have international friendlies throughout the year. And I know we're far from that in baseball, but at least if we could get that to be a consistent conversation that's being had, that these players are going to be playing for their national teams. It's a joy to watch them get to play. I mean, a lot of the Dominican players, it was a super controversial video when it was posted in 2023, but like a lot of the Dominican players said that they'd rather win the WBC than the World Series. Like that's a very real experience for so many players around the world and fans watching their country play, because it just means so much more to have their country, their flag, and their name representing their family on their back. So it's something that I think as the WBC grows, the conversation will continue to get bigger and bigger. But I'm trying to have that conversation in the off years and 5 months, 8 months before the tournament starts.
Well, did it go by quicker than you thought, slower than you thought? Because I know that when it finished up, we had talked about, okay, how do we keep this conversation going? Yeah. How do you continue like your momentum of all that? And I know that probably from your perspective, this thing that you're so passionate about, you don't want it to go away. You want it to be coming next year, but it's not. It's 3 years down the road. Did it go by quicker than you thought, slower than you thought, about what you thought?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I feel like it went by pretty quick.
I feel it did too. I kind of feel it did too.
And I think because of that, you're right. Like I would love if the WBC was every year, but I think that there's something special about the rarity and the scarcity of of a World Cup event. Like having the Olympics every 4 years makes it feel very prestigious. Like you win a gold medal, or even worse, you lose and you like fall right out of the podium in the Olympics. You have to wait a whole 4 years to be able to like compete for that again. And I think the fact that we have to wait 3 to 4 years for the WBC, it really does build that tension and excitement and prestige that we wanted to have. That I don't know if it would have if it was a once every year exhibition.
No, I wouldn't. No, absolutely.
No.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, so because of that, I feel like I appreciate that it does take a couple years to get to it, and yet it still felt like it flew by.
Okay, so what is the player you feel that maybe I'm trying to figure out the best way to phrase this? Either the player who you're most excited to find out if they're playing, or the player that you think might play that nobody thought would play. You take your pick of either one of those. I don't care, either one.
Oh, man.
And it could be Adam Ottavino for the Team Italy, if you like.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Rob Bradford is.
Could Scotland does Scotland have a team? I could probably like wedge my way in there.
We need to make. Hey, you could play for. I mean, that's still UK. You could play for Britain.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me? Like I have an ancestor that came home in a Mayflower. I mean, it's like he did it basically so I could play in the WBC. I feel like.
Yeah, totally. Okay. Give me 1 second because I think that Great Britain on that point, I think they have the opportunity to surprise a ton of people if they get everyone who they could get. Because we've already talked about Jazz Chisholm, and just like Jazz, like another Bahamian player, Sebastian Walcott, one of the top players in the minors, like he is probably going to play for Great Britain. But the ones that stick out to me are, I'll start on the offensive side and then I'll go to the pitching. But there's players in NPB who are of Nigerian and Ugandan descent that are still technically eligible for Great Britain. Shun Mizutani is, one of the top outfielders in NPB. And when I put him on the dream team, baseball fans in Japan freaked out because they were like, there's no way he's eligible. But he is. And if they're able to get him to play, a Japanese player on Great Britain would be pretty electric.
Would he get a lot of pushback from that? I don't know.
I don't think so because I don't know if he's quite to the tier of being able to make Samurai Japan yet. I think if he was the best outfielder in Japan, there'd be no questions asked. He'd play for Japan. But to me, it kind of feels like like a Vinny Pasquantino playing for Italy. I think if he were to get the call for the U.S. and he was the best American first baseman, he might play for USA.
Okay. So it sounds like Great Britain's your sleeper team. You're way too early to tell sleeper team.
Well, listen to this, because on the pitching side for Great Britain, we could see 3 different Leiters play for Great Britain. Jack Leiter, Mark Leiter Jr., and then their cousin Cam Leiter. He just got drafted this year. And so all 3 could technically play for Great Britain because their grandmother is from England. And you could even have Jack's dad coaching, as one of the pitching coaches.
That's pretty good. I go back to our friend, drawing a blank, Michael Bennett. Who was the pitcher? The pitcher. Oh, Michael Bennett.
Michael Peterson.
Why did I say Bennett? Michael Peterson. I love that conversation. I love how he found out. I love everything about it. So Michael Peterson, in case people missed that, he was basically like, he was trying to get on the team like Great Britain and he wasn't getting an answer. I mean, this is a major league pitcher. And then finally he wedged his way on the team. But I think that some teams should hire you just to make it clear, like basically as the GMs or the recruiting coordinators of say, okay, here's your opportunities of guys that you can get to play for you. Hey, Czech Republic. Like, you don't have to rely on the UPS driver anymore. So
I'll tell you one that it's funny you say that. I've had conversations with managers of national teams in the WBC that have told me that they use me as a scout, as a recruiter. Like,
there you go.
Benji Hill, like after the tournament last time, Benji went to me and was like, "Yeah, dude, like you were basically a scout for me on Twitter. Like I didn't know some of these players were eligible for Mexico." But because of that I have to do like deep dives into citizenship law of these different countries. One of the ones that I was really interested to see if was a legitimate player that could play for a different country was Skubal is a Czech surname. And so he's not eligible to my understanding because it's just too distant.
Yeah.
It's just like too many generations removed. But when I saw his last name and I saw it was Czech, I started doing all this digging into his family history. And I was like, what if Tarek Skubal was leading Czech Republic out into the WBC?
Oh my goodness. Oh my, that would be so good. Does Crochet have like a distant relative in
he might.
Somewhere.
No, we need him for Team USA though.
Yeah, you do. Again, to come back to it, you need pitching. You still need pitching. If you want to win, you're gonna need pitching.
Pitching.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, boy, this is great. I always enjoy our conversations, and I really like it. It is great it's not that far away. I mean, we're middle of November. You're guessing into December. Next thing you know, you're January, and all of a sudden teams when do they start working out? Like they basically
February,
early February, right? I mean, I know that when spring training starts, but a lot of times players don't even go to their spring trainings. They go straight to wherever. So yeah. So, all right. Well, keep up the good work. We're relying on you.
Thank you, man.
All right.